I'm in a zone. Pull up the spot with the speakers banging way loud.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends, followers, supporters, hustlers, welcome to another episode of the Allergic to Average program. It's your boy, Agaba, aka Mastergabs.
I'm keeping the symbolism. A to A, easy.
A to A, all right. That's Jacob. Play01 in the building, right?
Yes, sir.
So we don't have a guest today, but what we're doing right now is we're just going to talk about what's on our minds.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to talk about what's top of mind. We're going to talk about what we think is relevant to us. We have a great crew here in the room with us. I'm sure some of you young men and women have questions or things that you'd like for us to talk about as well. So we're just going to go ahead and freestyle this thing and get right into it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So like the first one comes from a young man, and he broke out a topic that has always been on my mind. What I do, I learned 15% from school, 40% from YouTube. The balance of about 45% I learned from conversations and listening. That's a crazy ratio. Now, if someone doesn't know what to search on YouTube, they don't know what they want to learn, they would miss out that 40% I had from YouTube. If someone doesn't have the people around them that I had and situations, they don't have the conversations I've had. So which means all the learning, the 100% would come from my 15%, which was school. Is school, honestly, from your perspective, 100% sufficient to make it?
No. Academic education is good. There are certain vocations in life that are heavily dependent upon getting the academic qualification and getting the learning process done in a school of higher learning in order to be able to get there.
Yes.
Lawyers,
Doctors,
accountants, engineers, right?
Yeah.
People who have a very specific technical skill set that they need to deploy in the doing of that job on a daily basis. You can't get there without academic education at a high level.
Exactly.
However, what separates the good from the average or the great from the average, even in that academic setting, is a mindset. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you have those individuals who are within your study group, within your classmates, within your graduating class, right? Who separate themselves above the rest. That valedictorian, that salutatorian, that person who graduates at the top of his or her class, that person who gets scholarships and awards and who's highly sought after and recruited by all types of companies and organizations to work for them. They have the same degree that you do, but the thing that they have that gives them an advantage over the rest is the mentality to push through when things get difficult, to discipline themselves and delay gratification in moments when they could do the easy thing and go out and party, when they should be staying home and studying, things like that. So I think academics are a useful tool. They are an enabler to get there, but it works hand in hand with a mindset and a mentality.
I have this opinion that when you're in school, when you study, you get your degree, right? And you get a job based off of your degree. And let us say you say, okay, I'm going to pursue a master's. I have this theory. If you're in the corporate world and you're studying/working, I believe you should study the whole way. I feel like masters is like on a staircase with 3 ladders. You've stepped at the second or first. I feel like yes, to make you higher than the ground level, but you can't just stop there. I feel like it's not enough. I feel like you should go all the way, PhD, doctorate, name it, because when you start that path, especially in the corporate world, a company, maybe company X, let's not give any names, has 500 employees, right? Of those 500, maybe maximum 20 will become MD. There is no way 480, 500 people are going to become MD. Maximum 20 of them. Exec, maybe 40 of them. Because exec level, that's where the life is nice, eh? You get the cars, you get the money, you're doing good. Because I've met people in the corporate world, 50 years and so on, and they're still studying. They're still reading. 50 years plus, they're still reading. Approaching 60 and you're still going to class.
I mean, that's incredible. The pursuit of knowledge is a noble thing, right? I think people who are going to school into their senior years and they're pursuing knowledge and education that can help them on their journey, I mean, it's a noble thing. It's not necessarily something that I could see myself doing at that particular age and stage of my life, but it's interesting, man.
That which brings us to the other actual question. For those who can't do that, like I didn't do that. I didn't do that school way. I did part of it, but now there's other alternatives. How do you get the information? How do you get the knowledge? How do you match up in the corporate world? Because let's face it, we can all match up. We can't match up per se, but we can give people a run for them. Our industries, the creative industry is not run by studied people.
Yeah.
Creative industry doesn't have PhDs.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. The arts industry doesn't have PhDs.
Right.
The television media industry doesn't have PhDs. The transportation, the business industries, I don't think those are PhDs.
Right.
Those are people who they know business, but they're not. I do not think most of them are running off of school knowledge. So now that's the question: is how do now these people get information? Let's say he went to school, right? He studied a bit of graphics and whatnot. So how does he add information to compete with someone who went to what's that place? What's the school? You went to Artfield. How do you compare? What's that school? Full Sail. How do you compare to someone to Full Sail in California? Knowledge-wise.
That's a difficult one, man, because I think knowledge is about exposure, right? Skills and knowledge are different. Let's first of all establish that clarity, right?
Yeah.
Skills and knowledge are different. So when it comes to the skill that you can develop versus the knowledge that you have access to, it's different, right? Once you have access to better information, it enables you to develop your skill set in a different way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I can be as skilled as another person and not have had as easy of a time getting there because I didn't have the same access to information, and therefore the knowledge that I gathered took me longer to acquire, and therefore the development of my skill set took more time. I would say, again, there's no hard rule for everything, because if you're talking about a creative person, like you said, a guy can go to university and study to be an accountant and then one day wake up and feel like he has a passion for the arts and decide that he wants to go on YouTube and teach himself how to, edit videos or to be a graphic designer or how to carve wood, right? Yeah. One of the things that I see on my Instagram that I find very interesting is there's a certain person who's always posting Instagram reels of him or herself making carpets, right? Like putting a person's image, projecting it on the thing, and then they make a rug out of a person's face or out of a logo or something like that. And I'm like, yo, that's actually pretty dope, right?
It is. Yeah.
Could I go online and watch 50 hours worth of videos that could provide me with the knowledge to be able to pick up the equipment and do that? And then through time and effort and repetitive trial and error, I can develop some skills. Yes, I could. You know what I mean? So should I be so motivated? I don't think anybody in this world, as long as you have access to the internet, as long as you have access to the internet itself, doesn't even have to be high-speed internet. As long as you can get your ass online. Yeah. Watch a video. That thing might buffer for 3 hours. A 20-minute video might take you 3 hours to watch because it's buffering because your internet is slow. But as long as you can get through that video and you're determined to learn, access is available to you at your fingertips. Yeah. It's only, again, in those hard skill areas that require a high level of specialization, like being a surgeon or an engineer, things of that nature, where you can't go to YouTube University, right? Yeah. But anything that is about soft skills, creative work, right?
But today even stuff
entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah. But today even stuff like coding is on YouTube.
That as well, yes. Yeah. That as well.
Even trading is on YouTube.
That's true.
YouTube is right now so deep. I'm sure you can learn physics and stuff there. I mean, I don't know how deep they'll go to like the engineering stuff, but I'm sure you can find a lot on YouTube right now. Which actually makes me wonder, is the value of now school, not education, school. These are two different things.
Yes.
Is the value of school going down even if the price is going up?
Yes.
Because I once had this theory. I asked myself one time, when I look at the school price, I'm like, What if instead of taking a child to school, I homeschooled them till the final year? Then I took them, following the what's it called, curriculum, homeschooled them with the internet. Then in the last year, you take them to school and only pay that last year of school fees. I was once thinking about, I was like, if you're just trying to save money.
Really?
I think about it, that's a theory. I was actually just thinking about it. Because the fact is, there is but there's so much information and learning that can be done on YouTube. A lot. That the idea of listening, waiting to see what the teacher is going to teach you next, that value of school is slowly going down, even if they force us to think it's going up. A question?
I hope you don't mind if I...
No, definitely. It's okay.
That's a good question to ask. But when we think about school, one of the things that's important is social skills.
That is true.
And the internet is the worst place
For social skills.
social skills.
Yeah.
So there are so many, there's so much value in school and what that presents, how kids interact, how they begin to find out who their character is, meeting friends, being out there.
Yes. I actually didn't know that till like recently when I was watching Big Bang Theory and Sheldon was mean to someone, right? And they tell him, Sheldon, you're being mean. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't go to kindergarten, so I missed the part of learning to be social. So I was like, oh, that's actually one of the reasons of school to actually help you be social.
Yeah.
I actually never thought about that.
No, especially in a young person's life. I mean, coping skills, dealing with disappointment, hearing people say no and understanding that hearing no is not always something that needs to destroy your morale. Yes. Dealing with friends, dealing with challenging situations, competition, school, sports, all that stuff. I think there are a great number of young people who have been homeschooled, who have become well-adjusted into their teenage and adult years. Mm-hmm. But that also requires a deliberate effort on the part of the parents. Don't just say, I'm taking my kid out of school because I want to have no school fees to pay, and then I'm going to homeschool you and make sure you pass all of your educational requirements, get A's on your exams, but then I don't take you into sports programs. I don't take you into community programs that are going to actually allow you to interact with young people of your age. I think as long as you deliberately build in opportunities and program your kid's life with situations that challenge them and give them that growth and development opportunity, then to me, school, the overratedness of school starts when you get to teenage years and beyond.
Okay.
Teenage years and beyond specifically. Because a lot of the stuff that they teach in high schools right now doesn't prepare a kid for when they leave their parents' home and enter the university years, right?
Yes.
A lot of the stuff that they teach in university doesn't prepare them for when you graduate and into the real world, right? So when it comes to school being overrated, school itself, the school of hard knocks, right? The school of real life, right? There are so many instances and examples of people who have become wildly successful and grown multi-billion-dollar enterprises who don't have a college degree to their name.
Yes.
People like Bill Gates, people like Mark Zuckerberg. You know,
even in Uganda, there's many.
Yeah, Ugandans are here. This humble boy started as a shopkeeper's assistant. Next thing you know, he managed to save money selling jerry cans of paraffin. He bought a Fuso truck. Next thing you know, the guy has a fleet of, you know what I mean?
That story. We know that story.
All of that. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So mindset, hustle, discipline, commitment, willingness to sacrifice short-term satisfaction for long-term goals. I think that, in addition to access to knowledge, helps.
And now let me ask a hard question. Is it possible that in Uganda, or an African setting, school, especially from beginning to the end of university, equates the same value to our past generation as marriage and children? As in, it's not done because it's necessarily good for you, but it's done because it's a path you should take.
Yes. To a large degree, I agree with the idea that people go to school, particularly enroll in university, because it's what's expected of them.
Yeah.
At the time in your life when you're making the decision to enroll in university, a lot of people do not have the autonomy to make decisions for themselves.
Yeah.
So that person whose mom or dad has an expectation of them to go to university because I went to university or your siblings went to university,
Yes.
or any serious person who has ambitions in life needs to go to university, right?
Yes.
Those ruling, let's call it principles in life, more often than not guide someone to choose to attend university, even though they may not believe that they
In the system.
understand fully how
Yeah.
they're going to benefit from it.
I think that's why most people even just do it just for just. They
Yeah.
pass just for just.
Yeah.
No, that's why I think even more than half of the people who come out of university do not work what they studied.
Right.
That's I know guys who are lawyers and are cooking right now, but I want to think it's not. I don't want to say that it's because we're not old enough to make the decisions. I believe African households, despite supposedly supposed to be the harder households, baby their people.
You believe that?
Let me tell you why I think so. I'm not going to compare to Asian culture, and I'm going to compare to Caucasian culture.
Okay.
What age does the average African leave their parents' home? Boy or girl?
Mid-20s?
Mid-20s,
Yeah.
right? Mid-20s.
Like 25.
Exactly, when you have like a job finally somewhere,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That's the time they assume you're now ready to start moving out on your own, right? Caucasian, I think Europe, campus, now the time to go and start getting a job. 16 years old, you're getting your first job,
Yeah.
right? No matter how small it is, you make you're cooking in the kitchen, you're cleaning toilets. No matter how small the job is, you're moving. Asian on the other side, they're forcing you early to start figuring out what company you're going to work in. You're being beaten, whipped into shape to be a worker, right? That's why Asian culture, people move really fast and everything. They're trying to whip, very early, they're trying to whip them to be a techie, a math genius, whatnot, so they're trying to make workers out of them. Us, they want you to work, but they're keeping you at home without responsibilities early.
This conversation around parents babying their kids is very difficult for me to navigate because I felt
Both sides.
both sides of the equation.
I hear you. I hear you.
I felt both sides of it. And what I mean by that is my parents, fortunately for me, were able to provide me with the best of everything growing up, particularly the best of opportunities to go to good schools. So from attending boarding school for high school and being able to go to the university of my choice and all of that stuff. And my folks always made sure that I had what I needed and I got a lot of what I asked for. And so growing up, I didn't come to recognize how rare and special that was until later on in life when, the realities of adulthood slapped me in the face and I realized that I am no longer able to benefit from being under mom and dad's wing. And I had to go out there into the real world and fight for myself.
Yeah.
And in that particular time, fighting for myself literally meant like waking up every day, going to school, going to work, hustling to pay bills, pay every bill on your own.
But do you realize not so many people went through that? Did you do the balance of school, work, and bills?
Yes.
I did that. Not so many people did that.
All of the above.
Not so many people went through that because I also used to wake up at 5, do a 1-hour journey to school, finish school, do a 45-minute journey back and keep my work clothes at work, go straight to work till 9 p.m., then go home to sleep. And then, of course, you have the bills you have to pay. Not so many people used to go through that. My parents paid for the fees, but I paid for everything else. The rent, name it. And that was, for me, that started at age 19. Not so many Ugandans went through that.
I don't judge people for how they handle their kids.
Yeah.
I don't judge people for how they handle their kids. But what I also don't have is I don't have a lot of empathy for people who complain about the monster that they've created. You know what I mean? If you don't put your kid in a position where they feel the need to be responsible for themselves, don't complain when they become irresponsible adults.
That's true.
You know what I mean? If you don't put your kid in a position where they need to find out what the pinch of brokenness feels like.
Yes.
Don't complain when they're 30-something and they're still coming to you for pocket money.
True.
You know what I mean?
True. Yeah, that's on you.
Yeah. So for me, it's like, it's a balancing act, right?
Yes, yeah.
To each their own. That's always like, what you eat don't make me shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's always going to be my guiding philosophy in life.
Yes.
I only have so much bandwidth to care about what everybody else has got going on in their lives because my life is hectic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you can give advice, you can give counsel, you can talk as much as you want until you turn blue in the face, but ultimately that individual over there is going to choose what happens to be best for them.
Exactly.
Within their constant evolving life circumstances, they're going to choose whatever it is. So, parents do baby their kids.
Yeah.
But also on the same note, within this generation, there's also a whole bunch of other people out there who have come up in a harsh world. Orphaned kids or people whose parents were so poor that they couldn't afford to even buy them shoes, or you know what I mean, people whose parents were abusive and things of that nature. I mean, we had conversations with people about mental health issues that they faced as adolescents and in their teenage and entering their adult years. So there's so many challenges that people have faced that I have appreciation and admiration for those who rise above and create that thing of themselves which seems to make them an outlier, right?
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's just a plain statement of fact that parents these days are more prone to babying their kids, particularly Ugandan parents.
Yeah.
I attribute it to the fact that they came up in a time when shit was so harsh for them.
Yes.
That they are going to extend themselves above and beyond to ensure that my kid never has to even suffer a night.
Exactly.
Of whatever it is that I did.
Exactly.
Even if my kid is now a grown-ass adult.
Yes.
If I have it within me to shield them from that,
I'll do it.
it's
I'll do
okay.
The fact is, I do not know a lot of people who started young. So not too many people, while younger, have a mindset on awareness of what they want to become. So when you reach a particular age, you should take the persistent initiative, the aware choice and decision to realize what you want to do / what you want to be, and make yourself be that person intentionally. So in regards to what Raymond was saying, of you do not have to go to school, it depends on what you want to be.
Yes, it does.
It depends on what you want to be, but don't think you do not need to put in the work. Just because school doesn't have your answers doesn't mean YouTube doesn't mean the streets don't. You can literally just walk on Chikuwo and learn about the hustle of selling and importing. There'll be a guy on Chikuwo who will tell you, import from this guy. Make sure there's this amount of percentage increase in your goods so that you don't make a loss. Make sure you come just get a particular border. Like there are all these things that you can learn to become / grow whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Those guys who are shopkeeper's assistant, they learned somewhere. You may not find it in school, but your knowledge, so that comes your answer. Your knowledge, what you want to be.
Yeah.
Someone has the answers. Somewhere. The answers lie somewhere. But you have to make the purposeful intention to find the answers. For me, it was YouTube and boardrooms / meetings.
You know, I once read a book by Jack Canfield called The Success Principles. And the whole premise of the book is if you want to be successful at a thing, in a field, find somebody who is that example of what it is that you want to achieve. Figure out how they did it. Copy their blueprint.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, you can follow this. You cannot follow this step by step, like 100% of the exact steps, because there's good fortune and luck that comes into that.
Mm-hmm.
But luck is also where opportunity meets preparation.
Fact.
So can you go on a hunt for what subject matter did he become an expert in, right? Can you become a master of self-discipline when it comes to being able to sit down and study for 12 hours at a time or write code for 16 hours at a go without sleeping? Can you master some of those intangibles that person obviously found within themselves in order to be able to emulate the success that they have? So for me, it's about making sure that whenever somebody decides that they want to do something, they have to understand and appreciate how difficult it is to achieve that lofty ambition, right? If somebody says that they want to be an award-winning filmmaker, right? I expect that person is going to tell me about how they study the greats.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And they have very lyrical opinions that they can share with me about why Steven Spielberg is this and why Roman Polanski
Yes.
is that
Yes.
and why,
Yes.
you know, watching this old movie from 1965 that nobody has ever even heard of changed their lives. You know what I mean? Like, I expect that person who says that they want to be a filmmaker to say stuff like that to me, because it shows that they're immersing themselves in the world of understanding greatness in that field.
Yes. And I will say too that when you are growing, learning, developing, evolving into something, yes, at first it's studying. At first you're studying, or somewhere, you're on YouTube, whatnot. So it becomes like schoolwork, homework, right? But the point, I think, where you know you're on the right path is when you start living it.
Mm-hmm.
When you start living it, case in example, it happened to me when I was watching Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Most people just watch the movie, right?
That movie is dope.
Yeah, you see, most people watch the movie. Do you know what I was on? I was like, what lens did this guy use? You saw the lens. You guys didn't notice. First, movie makers were like, that lens, that's all we're making noise about. Because we're saying, how does he get a picture that looks like this? That's all we were thinking about. Then you watch the behind the scenes, and he's actually talking about the lens. So you see, he's a filmmaker, and he has impressed us filmmakers. That's like a doctor impressing a doctor. You know? You know what I mean? So marketing guys be like, whatever. Engineers be like, it's a good movie.
True story.
And scientists be like, the zombies were in there.
Actually, you know what made me think of that? When we watched, what was that movie with Chris Hemsworth? Extraction.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And the angle where they had the dude laying on the hood of the car. And they were driving through the thing.
Yes, the one take.
Only when you saw the behind the scenes and you saw how the dude was strapped to the hood of the car, holding the camera, then I was like, okay, yeah.
That was cool.
This is some...
That's the thing. Now me, I be dying for those things.
Yeah.
I'm literally one of those guys where you're watching a movie, then you're quiet, and after 1 minute you hear me saying, this is a one take. Then you're like, wait, what? Then you rewind and realize, oh, it actually is a one take. Because me, I'm like, wait, how do these guys do this?
Yeah.
And that's how you know now you're living what you want to become. And I think that's one of the points that people should seek for when you're trying to grow into the person you want to become. To be living and always just be open to knowledge.
So let's flip it, right? Because we've talked about working hard to get where you want to go, right? Now let's talk about somebody who is in that position that people aspire to be, but they're suffering from imposter syndrome, right?
Eesh.
That's another hour.
Yep.
Is that another hour?
It is.
Should we clip that one and save it for another time or what?
Nah, let's go.
So let's give the definition of imposter syndrome, also known as imposter phenomenon, imposterism, fraud syndrome, or the imposter experience, is a psychological pattern in which one doubts one's accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud, right? So you can imagine, how can one overcome imposter syndrome? Now, you've gotten that job that you prayed for, you grinded and you hustled for it, and you're in that thing and you're sitting in that office, or you're in that place where, man, I'm here. But then one day you wake up and you realize, I'm here, but do I deserve to be here?
Yes.
Like, first of all, has that ever happened to you? Number one. And number two, what would you say to somebody who comes to you and confesses to you that that's what they're experiencing in their life?
Me, I think it could, keyword could have happened. But there's this thing with me. I am worried about failing. Not worried, but I'm cautious about failing. Like, God has forgiven me so many times in my life. Like, I've made mistakes, I've slipped, I was clumsy, all that stuff. That to a point I'm like, I feel like I've run out of, you know, like those free cards, those get out of jail free cards. I feel like I'm running out to get out of jail free cards from God. So I feel like I'm on my last one. That's how I feel. Like, Carter's 9 lives, I feel like I'm on my 9th. So, but that's just a feeling, of course, that's not how life is. So for that reason, I do not want to let myself fail. So which means my perception of everything, I have a tunnel vision of what's the next step. What am I going to do 5 months from now? Like, even the guys who work with me, I'm always thinking, what's next? If we're good now, I'm not like, wow, we're good, and I sit back. I'm like, we're good now. Are we good in 3 months? Are we good in 6 months? So which means my problem is now I never really get to appreciate now because I'm like, I think I'll calm down when we're good for 5 years straight. That's when I'll be like, okay, now I'm good for at least to chill for at least a weekend. Which means any moment I probably had imposter syndrome, of looking around. First of all, to get imposter syndrome, you have to live in the moment of your success.
True.
That means you have to see all this and compare it to yourself. The reason why I've never got that is because I never look around and see how I am now. It's because I look around and say, nah, it's not enough. What's next? So I've never gotten the opportunity to compare myself to now. I'm comparing now to tomorrow. That's how I survived it. That's how I dodged it. As for someone going through imposter syndrome, comparing themselves to who they believe they are, here's how I would say it. If you find yourself in a situation whereby it feels like you do not fit, you feel like you do not deserve, first, you count your steps to now. You say, this is what I did now. At this pace, what will I get tomorrow? If you have one of the greatest companies in Kampala or Uganda and you doubt yourself, you don't compare yourself to the greatest in Kampala. Compare yourself to the greatest in Africa. The way you get Africa works, I don't get it. There's always some guy a lot younger than you has done a lot more. I don't understand this continent.
Right.
There's always someone, this man is 25 years and he already owns 5 companies just here in Muyenga. There's always someone going to tell you that. As long as those guys exist, I can't have imposter syndrome. As long as those guys exist, I can't have It's not happening. It's not happening. Because if I have it, what do they have? So I feel like you just compare yourself to someone who has doubled your worth. Now just challenge yourself. You'll be like, can I get there? If I can, then clearly I'm not faking it. Simply put.
Drop the mic on that one.
Easy, I'm even done.
Ladies and gentlemen, that has been another episode of the Allergic to Average program. Allergic to Average podcast.
Hey.
Jacob here.
Yes, sir.
Mastergabs. See you guys next time.